Moving on to our next speaker, ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together and welcome Chinua Mosley. He is currently a technology integration specialist, gifted education mentor, IT teacher, robotics coach at Qatar Foundation. He worked as a technology integration specialist and designed technology with teachers to maximize the use of instructional technology in classroom. And he teaches design technology to middle and high school students. Mr. Mosley is on a mission to integrate technology and education for a better and brighter future. Let's go ahead and welcome Chinua Mosley on board, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, everyone. I am okay. Hello, everyone. I'm going to start with something that's a little bit different. As you can see, I have this interesting graphic in front of me. And this is kind of how I start my lessons, right? The students come into the lesson, they have something that's a little bit different from what they're used to, and they kind of play with it as an introduction. And so beyond this, we're talking about increasing engagement through interactivity. Okay, you'll notice that at the bottom of the screen, there is a QR code and a link. The presentation that I'm going to be doing is interactive. And when you go to that link or use a QR code, they both go to the same place. It will allow you to follow along with me using the web app that I'm using. You don't need to download anything. Depending on the device that you use, it will ask you whether you want to connect with download the app or use the website. Just use the website at this time, and everything should run pretty smoothly, and you should get a really good gist of what's going on. All right, so the program that I'm using, what is this? So this is a program called Nearpod. It is an app that can be used on the phone. It is also a website. It can be used on a tablet. So you can download the app or you can use the website using pretty much any device that is internet capable. It is what I would call a interactive presentation software. So basically, it's very similar to what you would have with a PowerPoint or Google Slides. But as a teacher, when you have PowerPoint and you have Google Slides, for the most part, it's a very one-sided experience. The teacher really does most of everything at the front of the board or with the projector, and then the students are they have to follow along, and there's not really a lot of interaction unless the teacher calls on individual students. So with these interactive presentation softwares, you can have students 100% of your class engaged in the content simultaneously with you. So it makes that lecture time much more interactive. It makes it much more appealing to students because they don't have to sit and watch someone, pretty much talk at them. It's more of a conversation piece, and then you give the students lots of time to give feedback, which is how you want your students to move forward in the classroom. So what I'm going to do is I am going to run through a couple of activities that I would normally do. Nearpod is the application that I'm using. The people that run it are actually in the presentation space tonight. They're paying attention to this presentation. And so one of the things that they're doing is that if you say something in the chat or whatever, if they can answer your questions, they will be answering your questions from the chat. So these first couple activities are activities that I actually use in my class. This first one, and requires some marking on top of the slide. So this would be a slide that you would mark on top of. We call this a draw it slide. And I use these in many different elements of my class. So given this particular activity, the students have to highlight all of the V's and W's that are on this particular page. So they can use these tools here at the bottom. I'm going to click on this highlighter, and then you can take the highlighter, click on the highlighter, choose whatever color you want, and they can do these different activities. Now, one thing that you notice here in the corner at the top on the, there's a little caret that you can pull down, and I can actually insert a video here. So this video can be whatever you want it to be. So what I normally do is insert instructions here so that the student, after I give my instructions to the class, the student can go back themselves and go and see the video instructions over again. Also, you can type instructions, and here on the right-hand side, you'll see that there's a little book here with a sound symbol on it. That's because this will actually read the instructions to them. So whether you actually make a video yourself for the instructions, or if you just write them out, you can have the program read the instructions to the student, right? And you can add timers, as you can see here, for the activity so that you're not spending too much time, or you give the students a limited amount of time to move on. In the next slide, I think math is a very good subject to use with this particular tool, especially since we want students, you give the students a lesson, right? You tell them how to do a particular problems or whatever, and you find yourself repeating yourself a lot, especially in math. And so here, where the instructions would be, you may not even just do instructions, but actually show the particular steps of how to do a problem in this video, right? And then I can take the pen tool here, and then I can mark in here. So like if I'm doing my math problem, I can work it out here. 6 times 1 is 6. 1 times 7 is 7, right? And I can mark it out here. Now, my handwriting is a little bad here because I'm using a mouse, but students that are using their touch tablets, or at my school, students have access to touch screen laptops. They can use their finger or a stylus, or students I might be good at using their trackpad or the mouse even, right? As well. But in addition to kind of scribbling here, there are other different functionalities, like you can just go ahead and type the numbers in, right? So if I wanted to do 7 and 6, I can just type them in and then move them into the location and not have to worry about the drawing aspect of it. So this next slide, it may not work. We'll see how it goes. But there is a website that I use to teach about digital citizenship, and it connects to a graphic novel, a little comic. It's not working today. It connects to a little comic, right? And it teaches students about cyberbullying. Now, this website is a website that I want the students to go through because they need to click on the different parts of the website for the presentation. But when the students are done, I want them to all be done. So when you connect websites within a platform like this, when I am ready for the students to finish, there's a button on the teacher side for me to close it, and then all of the students will close out of that website. I don't have to ask or try to collect students into doing that space or moving into the space that I want them to move into. The teacher has full control. And so this is the next slide that I would normally do on this particular presentation. And so the students have to answer questions about the girl, Katie, who was being cyberbullied, right? So they're given examples of how Katie feels. So what do? They can write with the pen again, right? They can write. They can type about what's going on. Or if you want them to, students can insert pictures. So I can put a sad emoji. And so there's a built-in search function that allows students to search Google images, and you can put those images in or whatever. So whether you have students that are quite young and or you have students that are sophisticated in their knowledge, these platforms are very friendly, user-friendly, and very kind of scalable depending upon the age range that you're trying to work with. All right, so in this section, this is a collaboration slide. So here, individuals can type in different ideas about a prompt that you give them. So I saw that there were somewhere around 20 people logged in the last time. So anyone that wants to respond to this can. How else would you think about using a draw it slide? So that's the slide where you have an image or some type of problem or document or whatever, and the students can mark on it. So I would say, all right, so I'm doing differentiation, right? And then, so someone else they will work on a collage. That's another good idea. And so students and whoever's interacting can put different things into here, right? And everyone's sharing simultaneously. And you can also participate by giving likes to the different things, the different ideas that were posted, right? So working on a collage, rating level of understanding, all right? All of these different things are definitely ways to applicable things that can be done, right? And then here you can also add a picture, look through Google or pull a picture from your desktop to add to these types of things as well. Inner blackboarding is also a good idea, right? So these are different aspects of what you can do with the collaboration slide. I'm going to go ahead and move forward. So a concern that I get a lot as a educational technology specialist is that if I already have slides, so if I already have all this content that I've created, many teachers have been curating this content over a very long time, and they have concern that what they have already won't be compatible, and they won't have the ability to, and they'll have to start all over again. And that's a legitimate concern. But with a platform like this, you don't have to start over with the slides, with making new slides. You can just convert the slides that you already have. So if you have PowerPoint, Nearpod has an importer that will allow you to import all of your slides from your PowerPoint into Nearpod, and then you can tweak it. And then for those that have not Microsoft, but Google Slides, then there is an add-on that you can use, a plugin that you can use, which is shown in the image here, where you can go ahead and create your slide deck, or you can use a slide deck that you already have, and then you can build the interactivity onto the slides that you already have. You don't have to recreate the wheel. You might just have to tweak a couple things to make them interactive, because if you made them previously and you weren't using this type of software, what you made it was made for lecture. It wasn't necessarily made for interactivity. So you might just have to tweak a couple things, but you won't have to start from scratch. All right, so I'm going to have to switch back to teacher mode for this one. A feature that's relatively new in Nearpod is the ability to add these videos. So in this video, it plays through. This is a set of This is a Rube Goldberg machine. So there are a bunch of simple machines that are connected in series that do various different things, right? So maybe you have some type of video or something that you want to introduce a topic to the class, or maybe you want to do a video as your lesson. When you get to this section, and I already answered this, so it doesn't really show it so much. But you can add questions within the video so that after students get to a certain point, they answer the question, and then the questions are submitted. So some of your contemporaries that are in the presentation have already answered, or they're connected and have not yet answered this. So would be a great way to start a lesson, or it would also be a great way to kind of do an opener to see what students already know about a topic. And there are many different ways that you can use this, with flipped learning being one of the main ways that I would use it. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with PHET, but this is a website that's been around for quite some time, and it has interactive simulations and manipulatives that are relevant and related to math and science. And I've used this quite a bit. And so this application in Nearpod, it has them, you can have them built in among many other things, right? So the students can come in, they can interact with the experiment or the simulation, and then you can have prompts afterwards, right? And this is just one of the different websites that are that are interoperable with Nearpod, and there are far more than I have time to go over. So kind of going near to the end. So these interactive presentation softwares, Nearpod isn't the only one. There's Pear Deck, Nearpod, ClassFlow, and Lesson Up, as far as I'm aware of. There might be more than this. I personally use Nearpod, and I don't work for them. I'm a teacher. I work with what works for me, and in my opinion, it has the most functionality out of the rest of them. So I use that one. But Pear Deck is their most major competitor. It does almost the same thing. It has some differences, but not as many features. ClassFlow is a free software that is owned by Promethean. I don't know how other people have, what experience other people have had with ClassFlow in the past. It has some good functionalities for a free tool. However, ClassFlow is it's not as reliable as I would like as a teacher. You need things to be very reliable. And then Lesson Up is very similar to Nearpod or Pear Deck, but Lesson Up doesn't have a free trial or a free subscription version. So there's a free subscription to Nearpod and a paid one, and there's a free subscription to Pear Deck and a paid one. Lesson Up, you have to pay for it to use it. There's no testing it out. So in my opinion, if you're going to try an interactive presentation software, I definitely recommend using Nearpod and seeing the different features that they have. So a question that comes up is, schools tend to be very, they tend to choose a side when it comes to the operating system and the devices that they're using. And a system like this works for all devices, or most major devices that are out today. You can use it on your Windows laptop. You can use it on a Chromebook. You can use it on an Android tablet. You can use it on a Mac. You can use it on an iPad. You can use it on phones. Apple or Android phones. It works on all of them. So, what are some other things, other topics that we would think about for use with this? One of the main ones is differentiation. You can set up these slide decks and have them cover the same topic, but but differentiated on the inside. So, when I do a presentation like this, I get a link at the end. And what I'll do is I'll make 3 different versions for my high, middle, and challenge students. And then when I submit the assignment to the students it will look like they're receiving the same activity, but really they'll get an individual link based on their ability level. This is clearly very good for one-to-one classrooms. And allowing every student to participate. But even if you don't have a one-to-one class, if you have only a couple of devices in your class, having students work together in small groups on the same device works just fine. When it comes down to subs, I know that as a teacher, we often think of a sub day as a loss of instruction, and we count it. We don't even consider that the students would actually be able to get what we would normally be able to give them in the class. With a system like this, you can pre-record your lesson, you have the activities built in. All the sub has to do is facilitate, and the students will be taking a lesson just as if you were actually there. And there is no document to lose, because the documents, the deck, is submitted into your reports section within the back end of Nearpod. So you just collect it whenever you collect it, right? Now, another thing about this this type of software is that there's the student pacing and teacher pacing. So this was a teacher paced lesson. Anybody that connected to it, they went along with it with the pace that I set them to. So whatever slide I was on was a slide that they were on. But students also have the ability you can set the slides up so that the students can do it at their own individual pace, right? So when I did it as teacher pacing, that's a live session. And so the students are doing it live with me, but I could also set a deck as I could set the deck as a homework session and send the deck home for homework, whether it be videos or whatever content it is, and have it due at a later date, right? So there are lots of different ways to use this. The next activity is one that I normally do in this presentation, but we don't have enough time for it. It's taking a little while to load, but there's a functionality within this system called Time to Climb. And what it is basically like Kahoot, right? The students have to answer questions, and then they compete to get to the top of the mountain, basically, by answering questions. And it's a very good system for review and just getting a little bit of liveliness into the classroom. Now you'll see in the end, so this is my last slide, it's asking for feedback about the session. So this is from me. You'll notice that I'm able to turn the names off. So if you are displaying your computer to the class, then you can go ahead and hide those the names so that students can't pick on other students or whatever. All right, I've gone over my speaking time just a little bit, so I am going to go ahead and take some questions from the chat, if there are any. Would dependency on learning approach through digitalization reduce post COVID, should we be concerned that as the world becomes more diversified, decentralized, and dependent on technology, this would lead to a higher risk of unmanageable failures in either physical or social systems that underpin survival? Um, that's a quite intense topic, but I don't think that is quite covered by the content that I'm covering. If there's any questions about the use of software like this, I would love to. Um, okay. Oh, those are different. Okay. Okay. I see. Those are two different questions. Will dependency on learning approach through digitalization reduce post COVID? All right. So within this um, type of teaching, I've been teaching like this since before COVID. Um, I know that there are lots of people have different views on how they should approach um, teaching, whether it be digital or not. So in the realm of dependency, I think that once COVID is over, the dependency will definitely decrease. But given the digitalization of our world in general, I think that it's important that students are connected to these types of applications and this type of interaction because it will be a part of their world regardless. And if they don't get it in school, then where are they supposed to get it from? Next one, should we be concerned that as the world becomes a more diversified, decentralized, and dependent on technology, this would lead to a higher risk of unmanageable failures in either physical or social systems that underpin survival? Uh, this is a hard one. Um, but at every section of human civilization, there have been technologies. And unless we are individually out, hunter gatherers inside of, the forest or plains or desert or wherever you're from, we depend on technology to some extent. Our technology might be more fragile because we depend on electricity and, water can't touch it or whatever. But being dependent upon technology is kind of an underpinning of human civilization at this point. So the best thing that we can do is to identify the possible problems and to come up with contingencies. I do think that students should, and people in general, should kind of work on both sides, do things digitally and do things in an analog manner. But um, uh, I don't think that there's any need to have extra concern that hasn't already existed in the way that we live our lives already. All right. So thank you, everyone. Thank you to the IBE Forum. I appreciate all of you all for uh, joining this presentation. I am going to turn that presentation into a student-led presentation in the next 30 minutes. So if you try to use that link again, you'll be able to connect to the same presentation and go through it at your own leisure. I appreciate you all, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for sharing the insights. I am sure everybody is delighted to have you, and the insights are going to be helpful on a longer run. Thank you so much once again for being with us.